how to change a habit or learn anything. And there are 4 steps. Now, some of you are tempted to write down on your notes, change a habit, 1, 2, 3, 4. But you don't need to, because it's going to be here, and then it's going to be in the computer, and it's in the book. What I want you to do, is write down something. I want you to write down a habit that you want to change. So right now, would you please think of a habit, just some habit you have, that you want to eliminate. Or you can think of a habit that you want to add. And write it down. This is the only strategy that I teach that I know has saved a life. And because after I taught it, someone I taught it to changed a habit. He added the habit of seat belts. A few months later, he was in a major wreck, and the first thing the highway patrol told him was, you'd be dead without your seat belt. He called up and said, thanks. So what could change your life? Write down a habit that if you changed it, your life would change. Your life would improve. And now write down another one. Maybe it's a habit you want to add or a habit you want to take away. Like some of you want the habit of regular exercise. And some of you have it. You don't write it down. But if you want it, you don't have it, write it down. Some of you want the habit of knowing it's heaven. You just want to wake up every morning with that experience of, wow, I'm so glad to be awake. If you want that, write it down. Maybe you have it, so don't write it down, because you've already got that habit developed. Making excuses. Now, some people think that making excuses is a genetic defect. But of course it's not. It's just a habit. It's just something you've learned, and we all have learned it, and some of us are more practiced than others. No matter what happens, we just make excuses. We don't get the job done, we make an excuse. We don't feel well, we make an excuse. We don't... What's another one? That's a good one. Starting your day earlier. Another one. Yes, Karen. Disorganization. So that's a habit that Karen wants to start. No. That's a habit that she wants to eliminate. Now, she could either put down, eliminate disorganization as the habit, or create organization. Either way is okay. So you can either write down a habit you want to get rid of, which is, in this case, disorganization, or a habit that you want to add. A lot of times people think procrastination is something that you learned when you were a kid and it would take years of therapy to stop it. Well, I don't think that. Now, I'm not opposed to therapy, but I don't think you need it for 99%, 90% of what it's used for. I think therapy is great in many cases, but in many cases it's just a habit. And I believe that procrastination is just a habit. You can change it. What if fear were just a habit? Because I know that some of you have some fears. You have fears about different things. I mean, we all have fears. But you might, just for a moment, to take Peter's idea here, think of something you're afraid of. And you're all, you all got different things. And for some of you, it might be death, but what are you afraid of? And then maybe, could that just be a habit? Maybe our beliefs are habits. Because some of you believe things that you know, when you really examine it, aren't true, but you still believe it. Some of you believe, for example, that you're not good at math. Or some of you believe you're not good at computers. Or some of you believe you're not a good singer. But it's just a belief. And what if a belief were a habit that you could change with this? All right, I think they are. Now, pick one, because I want to now have you apply these 4 steps to whatever it is. So pick the most important on your list, the thing you really want to change. You know, if you change that habit, even if you might not have called it a habit up until 5 minutes ago, but now you can see maybe it is a habit. And if you changed it, life would be better for you and even for the people around you. All right, most of you got one. Good. Well, the first technique is to commit to change. In other words, to promise yourself and a whole lot of other people that you're going to change that habit. Like really promise. Say, I've procrastinated enough. I'm no longer procrastinating. You can count on me. I've been disorganized enough. I'm going to be organized. You can count on me. Absolutely. I'm now going to start my day early. Absolutely. I'm going to trust myself. I'm going to walk around feeling and knowing that I trust myself. You can count on it. I will have no more fear getting in my way. You can depend upon it. So that's the first technique. Now, most people, when they hear this, respond just like you do, which is your eyes are kind of blank and you wish that wasn't the first technique. Because this is like a New Year's resolution. By itself, it's useless. By itself, most people fail. Because you've probably already tried this before. And it often doesn't work. If you just say, I will, but then you don't. You say, I'm not going to procrastinate anymore, but you do. I'm going to be organized, but you're not. I'm going to trust myself, but you don't. But I'm asking you to do it again. And to take it on with a level of promise that's bigger than you've ever taken it on. And right now, in your heart of hearts, just commit that I'm going to change this habit. I will, I promise, you can count on me. So that's the first technique. Now, without the next three, it won't work. But the next three won't work without that. So if you're not willing to promise that you're going to change that habit you just picked, then pick a different habit that you're willing to promise to change so that we can use the next three techniques. Now you say, well, but I'm not sure that I'll be able to. Well, no problem. Technique 2, 3, and 4 will ensure it. But so I'm just asking for your commitment. All right, number 2. Monitor it. That's the technique. Is you set up some kind of a measurement system, a feedback system, some way to know how you're doing. I've used this 4-part strategy with so many different parts of my life that I am actually not the same person that I was a dozen years ago. I really have changed a lot. And I changed it because it was easy, because I didn't need to go through a personal transformation. I didn't need to spend years of therapy. I didn't need to have a big, long book on the subject. It's just promise to do it and set up a feedback system. And it changes. I stopped a year and a half ago clenching my jaw at night because I set up a feedback system. And I promise not to do it anymore. I don't clench anymore. I just almost stopped snoring using this technique. I stopped almost swearing. I'm really close to, well, publicly, hell, I never swear. Fasten my seatbelt constantly. My feedback system was my children. So there's lots of feedback systems. I'll give you a few ideas in a minute. But I want you to think of a feedback system you could use now. One thing you could do is you could buy a journal, a daily journal, those kind with the pretty pictures, a day at a glance, and you could give yourself a little score every day, maybe a little note about how you're doing. So you could journal it, monitor it that way. That's your feedback system. Or you could set up a chart. I've included a chart in your folder. Looks like this. This is a chart that I made for monitoring 31 days of the month, from -10 to +10. And I've given this chart to a lot of people. I had a client recently, and she was suicidal. And you say, well, for something like that, you can't just, suicide's not a habit. Well, of course not. But depression is a habit, in my opinion. And what she did is she started to monitor her depression. And this person made dramatic gains in just 3 weeks. Lasting gains. It's been now over 6 months, and she's gone from consistently down in the -10, -8, -7 range to above in the 1, 2, and 3. She changed her habit of mood. So you can use this. It's just, so a chart, in other words. Another one of my clients, instead of doing it like this, he had his iPhone ring every twice a day. He pulled it out and opened this application that now I have on my iPhone called Tap Forms, and just said, okay, well, here's what I'm keeping track of. So you can monitor on a computer, you can monitor on a piece of paper, you can monitor in a journal, as I mentioned. You can give yourself a score or a grade. You could get other people to help you monitor. As I said about the seat belts, I had my children help me. This was when they were quite young, and I told my daughter Raspberry that I gave her a quarter every time she caught me without my seat belt. And it worked great, because she was the monitoring system. My wife and I were babysitting 2 weekends ago for our now 20-month-old granddaughter, Rosemary, and Rosemary now is repeating every word that she hears. And Tricia has a habit of swearing, and she's now decided that she doesn't want to do that anymore. So she asked me to help her monitor it. And what she wanted was a light tap on the arm every time she swore. And so she said, well, try it. And I tapped her, and she says, oh, that's not near hard enough. So I tapped her, and she says, well, wait a minute, I didn't swear. So you got to be a little careful when you ask other people to monitor for you, that you don't be mad at them when they monitor for you, because it's possible. You get irritated when somebody tells you that you're doing what you asked them to tell you that you were doing. Step 3, practice. This is very important. It's not a one-trial learning. Most habits are going to take a couple of days to change. Some habits might take a week or 2. Few might take a few hours, but practice. And then practice. And then practice some more. So this is the real key to this whole strategy, is practice, lots of practice. You say, well, some habits you can change in a couple of hours. Absolutely. Absolutely. I had a long-standing habit. I wrote about this. Some of you read it in the book. But I had a long-standing habit of biting my fingernails. And I tried everything. And I finally tried this. And I changed that habit within about 2 hours. Because the way I said I would monitor it was I would stop whatever I was doing and put a little tick mark on this chart. And I got so tired of stopping what I was doing that I just quit biting them. And honestly, it changed. And I tried so many things. Changed in about 2 or 3 hours. Eliminated the habit. Some habits might take a little longer. The idea is to practice and practice and practice without reproach. I know there's not probably room on there to say without reproach, but yeah, it probably is. Practice without reproach. What's reproach? Reproach is being mad at yourself when you didn't do it right. Reproach is saying, oh no, oh shoot, oh darn, oh heck, oh fiddle. Reproach is essentially hitting yourself when you make a mistake. And the problem with that is that you'll end up with a flat forehead. Or, worse than that, you'll quit practicing. So, just practice without any self-reproach, without any self-irritation. And then step 4 is celebrate. And don't wait until it's all done to celebrate. Celebrate every little movement toward your change of habit. And the more you celebrate, the faster it will change. Celebration is like water and sun on your process. All right.